To continue to have you both as leaders on the campus community and within Rohnert Park and Sonoma County at large. Thank you both for joining us this evening to give us an update and share about all the phenomenal work you all have been doing at Sonoma State. Hand it over to you.
I do have a PowerPoint, so if you could share the sharing settings.
While we're getting that together, I really want to thank Kirsten for your invitation, but also more importantly for your leadership. You know, the Sonoma County is my new home as of 3 years ago. And I can tell you that you have definitely made an impression in terms of the work of the NAACP and just your community work before that. So when you ask me of anything, I'm really quick to say yes. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Absolutely. So why don't we do some quick introductions? Just Tremaine, do you want to go first and just kind of tell folks who you are and your background, and then I'll do the same, and then we'll go on with the PowerPoint.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I'm Tremaine Austin Dillon, he, him. I work in the president's office as the manager of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs here at Sonoma State. I've been here for about 9 years. I'm originally from Los Angeles. I'm a Rohnert Park resident, proud to say that. I've been here long enough to where I can say that. I also serve as chair of the Rohnert Park Planning Commission. I've been doing that for almost 2.5 years. I got my undergraduate degree from Washington State University in Pullman, Washington. I was a communications major, ethnic studies minor, and I received my master's in student affairs administration from Michigan State University. And I'm an Aries sun, Libra rising, Sagittarius moon.
Oh, I like that Sagittarius part. Thank you, Tremaine. I'm Jerlina Griffin Desta. I'm the chief of staff and the vice president for strategic initiatives and diversity. I came to Sonoma State in 2019 and spent prior to that 30 years in the University of California system and then a couple of privates. And recently, before coming to Sonoma State, I was the associate vice president at the University of California headquarters, the Office of the President, which is in Oakland, but had previously worked at the UCLA campus and the Berkeley campus, where I received my PhD in policy and law studies there. Came to Sonoma State. I joke, because I lived in Alameda County and Oakland and Berkeley for 30 years or so. And I jokingly said, I don't think I've ever been north of San Rafael. And I had to correct myself because I had gone to Bodega Bay for a couple of retreats that we would have, but I really didn't quite know what Rohnert Park and Sonoma County and all of that was about. And as much as I continue to love the Oakland Berkeley vibe and area, I also made Rohnert Park our home. My husband and I, we live in University District, and I jokingly say that I golf cart to work because I actually do golf cart to work. So very excited about the renewed emphasis that this current president, Dr. Mike Lee, has with community engagement. So this, for Tremaine and I to spend a Monday evening after work was a no-brainer, particularly in talking to an organization like the NAACP in Santa Rosa, Sonoma County. So next slide. So this just gives you a sense of where we're located, the office and our work within the president's office. There are 6 divisions, and I'm just one of the 6. And as you can see from the slide, my chief of staff role, I have areas that would include the governmental relations and strategic communications, community engagement, Title IX, and is also part of that, my portfolio on my chief of staff side. And on my diversity, equity, and inclusion side, as you can see, we have Tremaine and Shelley, who really run the Hub Culture Center, which you hear about in a minute. But when I arrived on campus, I also wanted to locate the affinity groups like Alianza for Equity, the Asia Pacific Islander American Faculty and Staff Group, BSF, the Black Faculty and Staff, BFSA, Native American Initiative, and our Queer Faculty Staff Association, because they were functioning, but they didn't have a home division. And my philosophy has always been, if they matter, if they bring to the space a sense of community as part of what we will call our beloved community based on Dr. King's work, then they need to be properly situated and properly supported, including financial support. And so I just took them and placed them within my division, and that's been a wonderful model to this date in terms of that. And then you might also notice that there are a couple of clear initiatives that are president's sponsored, and that's his Advisory Council on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Campus Climate and Inclusion, the HSI Institution, Hispanic Serving Institution Advisory Council, because Sonoma State is an HSI, and then our President Advisory Council on Title IX. You might be aware that we've been in the press lately about, as well as many other campuses in the CSU. So this is our attempt to really get some focus around some of the initiatives that came out of both the audit as well as the internal report from the CSU. And so we are very serious about looking at this issue, and hopefully we'll see some progress in terms of better educating our campus community about the procedure, process, reporting, and so forth. Yeah, we can go to the next slide. So one of the ways, I mean, there's been so many different pictorials, if you will, of the work that we do around social justice. And so when I was in graduate school, and this may be a little bit outdated, I'm sure there are a lot more that has better nuance than this, but this is the one that I always go back to because it's such a great visual, and that has to do with what inequality looks like. And that's when you have a fruit-bearing tree that is tilted toward the left, and the person that's under that side is going to clearly be getting more fruit than the one on the right. So is that really equality? Then we go to this notion of equality where we say, okay, let's give them the same fence. As you see, it's the same size, but we didn't really deal with the structure. We just said, oh, okay, well, we'll help you get closer, but we still see so that's why evenly distributing tools and assistance may not always be the solution. Then when we look at equity, we say, okay, let's give the one on the right a taller fence with more steps. And so that's, custom tools that we tend to do in higher education that identify and address the inequality. So we feel really great about ourselves. But justice is about dealing with the foundation, right? As you see, the tree is now, straight up. The fruits are bearing equally, and it's fixing the system to offer equal access to both tools and opportunities. And so we at Sonoma State really are guided by this notion of justice and dismantling systems and rebuilding systems and propping up systems that work toward our justice goals. And Tremaine, I think you have another one that you liked as well.
I thought that this one was pretty good too. I don't know if folks have seen this particular image, but the meritocracy, right? This idea that, women and men are on a track field, but look at all those obstacles that are in front of the women and that are not in front of the men, right? This speaks to privilege. This speaks to the idea that women have to battle and work harder to win the race, if you will. And so this is a great image showing that inequality in gender.
And the obstacles that's in front of it, it's not a small thing either. If you looked at, they were kind of domesticated kinds of tasks. And so that's another one too that's important. Thanks, Tremaine. You can move on to the next one, which I think is yours.
Let's talk about the Hub. So the Hub Cultural Center. This is the cultural center at Sonoma State University. We service all students here. Some of the things we do include programs and events like our Gender, Race, and the History of Voting in America. We have support groups that really speak to what the students wanted. So all those groups there, the students started themselves because they saw a need and a space, and we provide opportunity for them to meet and gather. We also have Heritage Months. We celebrate different Heritage Months every month. Some examples there. And there is a Heritage Month every month throughout the year, and we celebrate it. And we also have the social justice arm where we really look at what's happening in the world and we respond in different ways. We've held protests, we've held rallies. We've also even engaged with faculty to talk about some of the issues that are socially just and related. And so that's a little bit about the Hub. We are a programming space We are a center where students can hang out, they can study, they can really just be themselves and be in community with one another.
So I think I recognize a couple of other names on in this Zoom that also work at Sonoma State. So these statistics might be familiar to you, but it certainly was a shock to me when I was looking at coming over to Sonoma State, which is, if you think about the 706 faculty and staff on campus, the African American population is 17. It's not a typo, it's 17, and that includes staff and faculty. So I just want you all to sit with that number for a minute. And there is, we can certainly get into this in the conversation, is one of the reasons why I thought really hard and long about coming to work in this space, but also to live in this space. And I know there's been a lot of conversation recently within the county about the experiences of Black African Americans in Sonoma County. And I don't necessarily think that Sonoma State is immune from some of those conversations as well. So next slide.
Then we have our student demographics. So we have a total of 6,483 students here at SSU. And you can see this breakdown by race. Black or African American students make up 2.8% of that 6,483, which is roughly about 181 students. So we have 181 Black students here at SSU. And if you look at it in the totality of students, staff, and faculty, that's about 200 Black African American people at SSU out of the 7,000. So that's another number to sit with, 200 out of the 7,000. Black support groups and initiatives. So we have a small population of Black folks, but we also provide many opportunities for our students and our staff and faculty to engage. And so we're really trying to achieve 3 goals here. As you can see, a strong Black community for students to thrive, a foundation for Black academic excellence and success, and really a network of people, of alumni and community members that can support our students. And if you look to the right, we have a list of groups that are actively doing that. Our Black Faculty and Staff Association, which we also call our BFSA, is chaired by a faculty and a staff member, and they lead the Black faculty and staff on campus through programs and initiatives, and really just providing a space for us to come together. We also have the Black Student Union, which is the oldest group on this page. They've been around since the early 90s, and they've been doing work really specifically focused on students, supporting student growth and leadership, scholarship, service. We have our Emoji Queens, which is for our Black women on campus. It's a mentorship group that was started by Miss Cookie Garrett. Some of you may be familiar with Cookie. She saw a need. The students saw that they wanted to engage with more Black women. And so that's what that group focuses on. We also have the Male Success Initiative, which is a CSU-wide initiative that supports our men of color. So this group also meets, and I have the privilege this year of actually running the MSI group and coordinating the structure and the programming that those men are going to experience, also focused on leadership, scholarship, and service. We also have VIBES, which was started by our Black Student Union a couple years ago, stands for Visionaries Inspiring Black Educated Students. VIBES is a living and learning community. So Black students have the opportunity to live together in our residential housing and take classes together and really have a support system as they navigate living on campus, for some of them for the first time. And then lastly, we have our Women of Color Collective, which is a very powerful group that meets once a week to talk about women of color issues, concerns, successes, highs and lows. It's a space where everyone is welcome to really talk about what it means to be a woman of color. Then we have our campus and community-based programs, right? And so Black graduation, you can see that photo up top from this past spring 2023, our graduating class. We usually average between 15 to 25 Black students that graduate each year. And we hold a ceremony that is specifically for them, put on by them, and the Hub Cultural Center. It's a really excellent time for students to come together and just express and celebrate this huge accomplishment of graduating. And so it's a big party, and we really love it.
Yeah, I just want to clarify though that it's typically a little bit more than 15 or 20, but those are the ones that participate in the Black commencement.
Yes, they actually sign up. Yes.
Right, so because then we go to the real commencement. I'm like, there's a little bit more Black folks here that participate in it, because it's totally is optional. And we had been working with the CSU and had our Juneteenth celebrations on our campus, but this year we partnered with the city of Roanoke Park and had a joint Juneteenth celebration a couple of months ago, and it was quite successful. And I'm bragging on your president again, who received the first inaugural recognition of leadership, recognized her leadership role. President Lee, it was a unanimous decision to go with our own Kristen Lang. And so she was there with her family and represented, I thought, the organization very well. And so it's really wonderful that this organization and the leadership was seen as impactful enough to give it its first inaugural leadership recognition.
And then Black support programs and initiatives. What we're looking for from our community members is mentorship for our students, internship opportunities. A lot of our students need internships just to graduate, and it's a great experience for their resume, and just simple collaboration. What programs and events can we work together on that we can bring for our Black students?
And what I didn't say was that the Juneteenth celebration will that was the first annual joint with the city of Roanoke Park, but we just had our debrief meeting a couple of weeks ago with our colleagues in the city of Roanoke Park, and we will be hosting it jointly every year. And so next year we'll have it on the Sonoma State campus, and the following year we'll have it back in the Sonoma County, in the Roanoke Park Community Center. So I think
that is our final slide right here. So this is how you can get a hold of us. If you're specifically looking for Black faculty staff, you can see that email, our Black Student Union, and of course, the DEI office email is there as well. If you want to get a hold of myself or Dr. Griffin, our emails are listed as well. And this picture here is actually from our first Black alumni barbecue cookout that we had last fall. A good time that we had. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Wonderful.
thank you,
So
thank
just
you
to-
both.
yeah. We can not